Welcome to Forum Watch for Saf. Let's grab 69, review whichever topics to please to make it look like a breeze. Turning ordinary posters into audio roller coasters. Listen to Forum Watch or break your knees. What, do you think this is a joke? Got a baseball bat with your name on it right here. Listen to the fucking podcast, bitch.
Welcome to the Forum Watch. I'm your host, Saf, and I'm joined at the hip with my co-host, Scrap69.
Hello, I'm Scrap69. I like Donkey Kong. How are you?
Too bad we're not here to talk about Donkey Kong. We're here to talk about the DK Vine forums, hosted at dkvine.com/forums.
Wait, isn't it forum?
No, people should definitely go to dkvine.com/forums.
Okay. I hope Chad decided to put that Gotsy picture in there, as we suggested from the last episode.
Ban, motherfucker!
Yeah, call back already! We're only 10 seconds in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be our best episode yet. As the title suggests, we will be taking a nostalgic look back at the Brawl thread from 2006-2007.
Are you inviting me to a fight? You can't? I don't think you want to get into a brawl with me, okay, Saf?
Oh, what are you saying, Scraps? You saying you kick my ass?
Oh yeah, I bet. Come all the way to Australia and I'll put that foot right up into your ass, yeah.
Bitch, I know Krav Maga. Bring it on. I love it when we take the time to laugh at our own jokes. It makes us sound so much funnier.
Yeah. we just crack ourselves up, so.
We love doing this. And we love you. We love you, the Forum Watch.
So, Saf, you're taking the lead today?
That I am. This is my episode, as the title suggests. So, Scraps, sit down and shut the fuck up and let me talk about the Brawl thread here.
Yes, Mammy. Mammy?
So anyway, but before we get into the Brawl thread, I believe we have a little due diligence in order.
That's right.
You may have noticed that starting with the last episode, we have a brand new theme song.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It was created by Sir Chasm.
Everybody's favorite self-deprecator, Sir Chasm, my favorite regular caller to the conversation. Thank you, Sir Chasm. It's fucking incredible. It's really incredible that somebody would think enough of our show to take the time to do something like that, and to do it so well. I mean, it's fucking catchy. I've been going around just fucking playing it in my head all day.
Actually, it's sort of funny because this theme song is really suitable to the Brawl thread, because at the very end of the theme song, he implies that he's going to use a baseball bat and beat the shit out of you. So, props on that, Sir Chasm.
Not only is that apropos to Brawl, but it's apropos to the Brawl thread itself. It was a very volatile thread, especially for the first half before Diddy Kong was announced.
Oh, yes. So, tell me a bit about the stats of this thread, Saf.
Well, the Brawl thread, which began on 8th May 2006 at 1:50 p.m. and ran until 13th February 2009, the thread ran for 188 extant pages, 9,386 replies, and has garnered 376,620 views.
Whoa.
It can presently be found on the third page of the Cameo Games discussion subforum.
That'll probably be fourth page, won't it?
Yeah, before long.
Before long, and eventually it'll slip down to page 69.
And then another forum fire, and it's gone forever. Nothing but the memories and this podcast. So, for this episode, we'll be taking a sort of historical look at the events leading up to Brawl's release, and the reactions chronicled in the thread, and any sort of interesting discussion we got up in between.
Cool bananas.
I feel like first, we really need to set up why we're talking about the Brawl thread. Why the Brawl thread out of all the threads we could be talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Why, Saf? Why? All those starving children in Kenya, they're just wondering.
Well, when you look back at all the legendary threads in the site's legendarium, all the threads we still tell tales of to this day, the Brawl thread stands out as this bogeyman, overshadowing, just looming over the entire forums to this day. When you look at the context of the time it was taking place in, it was 2006 and 2007, right in the height of the dark ages, the buyout era. This was several years after even the best games of the buyout era had came out.
Which is pretty sad.
Pretty sad. We were getting desperate. We were getting angry and just bitter. And we'd come on the forums and we'd just fucking bag on each other and bitch at each other to make ourselves feel better. That kind of became what the forums were all about during that time. That became what other forums knew us as, was this pissy DK Vine forum.
It's sort of like the Bronze Ages. I like to call it the BS period. Because I like to call it as before SAF was banned and AS period after SAF was banned. A bit like the BC and whatever the fuck it is.
Well, it was actually banned for a period of several years during the Dark Ages.
Oh, okay. Well, look, that doesn't count. I mean, Jesus could have been born, but no one noticed back in the Bronze Age, so...
Just another Jew in the gutter.
Yeah, just... Wow! I have to apologize to all the Jews out there.
So this is the joke we're apologizing for?
No, yeah.
This is where you draw the line, and you're drawing the line on me? Holy shit. Holy shit.
Yeah. That was a turnaround.
Jesus Christ. So coming in to the Brawl thread with that sort of negativity being the norm, when the game really didn't live up to our expectations in its pre-release, it only exacerbated that effect. Really, when you look at this time period, the Brawl thread was the only reason people were coming to DK Vine. We used to make that joke in AIM chats all the time. It was, you didn't even go to the main site, you didn't even go to the forum index, you just went straight to the Brawl thread because that's all there was going on. You know, there were little current event stuff and completely relevant, but nobody was talking about the Banjo games, nobody was talking about Conquer. It was all Smash Brothers all the time, and that was the sum total of the DK Vine experience. All the great joy you get out of surfing the forums was contained to that one thread. So it was super important that game lived up to our hopes. And for the longest time, it was giving us every reason to be pitchy.
Yep, that's right. And I wasn't here for this, so
well, where were you
no
during
idea.
the Brawl pre-release? Were you aware of it at all?
Oh, yeah, well, back when I was in my own world, yeah, I'd follow the Smash Brothers shenanigans. I enjoyed Melee, as Americans call it, and I was still quite connected. I was very connected to Donkey Kong, very connected to Nintendo. I just wasn't connected to DK Vine at the time, and I suspect a lot of the feelings that were out there pretty much reflected my feelings, as in, where the fuck is Donkey Kong? Where's Donkey Kong?
Where's
And
Donkey
where's
Kong?
Sam?
Where's Samus? Oh, right there in the first batch of updates with a new character, a new version of Samus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Naked Samus, as I like to call her.
Yeah.
So, pretty much, there was a surprise debut of this, wasn't there?
Well, the thread begins with Heil's posting of it for E3 2006. The game had been announced back at E3 2007 along with the reveal of the Wii itself. Reportedly before Sakurai had even been asked to make the game. But Heil posted the thread. You know, we were all hoping that it would show up at E3 2006 alongside Mario Galaxy and Twilight Princess and hopefully a new Donkey Kong and hopefully Saberman Stampede, you know. We had all sorts of hopes for that E3. And at least the Brawl hopes came true. At first, it didn't appear as though the game was going to be at the conference, but it received a surprise post-conference debut on the 10th of May.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a bit weird that you think their biggest title to debut is like some afterthought, as if they didn't really care. So you have to wonder.
I think Nintendo had sold enough Wiis at that point that they just didn't need to think clearly, you know? I think the biggest indicator of that is the fact that they didn't make Twilight Princess a Wii exclusive. They released it on the GameCube too, which, when you think about it, you got a new console and you got a new Zelda coming out that's compatible with it. Why wouldn't you make it an exclusive to sell the system? The answer, because fucking Wii Sports, because people wanted the waggle. I think the biggest problem is they came out and people had all these images in their head of how cool motion control was. And the Wiimote, the first generation Wiimote, just wasn't really capable of doing much more than waggle. It wasn't until the Wii Motion Plus, towards the end of the Wii's lifespan, that it could really do all the things that were playing through our head. And the only real games that required the Wii Motion Plus were Wii Sports Resort and Skyward Sword.
Yeah, that's right. And by then already, bloody PlayStation already had their motion control, which looked like a big penis with a glowing knob that changed color. So
My glowing knob changes color. In that first look of the game we got at E3, there were 5 characters announced. There was Wario, Pit, Zero Suit Samus, Meta Knight, and Solid Snake. Solid Snake pissed everybody off.
Benderlin pretty much said, "Oh, for fuck's sake. The purpose of this game was ruined. They might as well finally include Sonic and Tails now. Look at it this way, guys. We might be getting Snake instead of Diddy." And that's on page 2 of the Brawl thread.
That sums it up perfectly. People hated the idea of third-party characters getting a position in the game over established Nintendo properties.
Yeah. And I think everyone was a bit worried that there'd be a whole bunch of third-party characters.
Oh yeah, people were worried this was opening the floodgates. Heil said something along the lines, they're gonna let any Wii skateboarding Madden.
Actually, speaking of Madden, Benderlin made an image which goes, "Newcomer, John Madden." And then Mark went on page 7, "Newcomer, Mr. Pants," and "Newcomer, Buck," and "Newcomer, Yellow Shirt Guy." So, and then it even got to a stage where on May 2013, there were newcomers such as the "Oh really, Al?" and the army propaganda lad with the cup. So that was a brilliant little meme we had.
Yeah, we beat that meme to death. We've wrung every bit of irony, of parody, and second parody, third ironies. We just fucking ran it through the ringer. Well, meanwhile, over at the Smashboards, they would continue doing it for another 6 months,
Did they?
Oh, God, they're probably still fucking doing it to this day.
Actually, I sort of did one recently, but it was of one of Hitler, so...
Well, you see, it's always funny when you add Hitler.
Yeah. Yep.
Snake's inclusion, this whole third-party game, it really got the reactions started off on the wrong foot. With this bit of terrible news, people were just convinced this game was just going to turn out horrible. I mean, they thought it broke the whole premise of Smash Brothers, and if Sakurai didn't understand that basic premise, well, maybe he's going to fall down all over the place. Maybe this game's going to be failure after failure. Maybe this won't even be the worst bit of news in the game. Maybe Diddy Kong won't be in the game. Hell, we don't even know if Donkey Kong will be in the game. Nobody seriously thought Donkey Kong wasn't going to be in the game, but it was a joke to prove a point that Donkey Kong wasn't in the initial trailers, and it took fucking forever for them to reveal Donkey Kong.
1 year, in fact, didn't they?
1 fucking year. And they were fucking revealing people from Melee. They were revealing fucking newcomer characters. Before Donkey Kong, it was getting ridiculous. You can understand why people were feeling like Donkey Kong, the franchise, was going to get the shaft if Sakurai didn't feel like even putting Donkey Kong out there.
Speaking of shafts, I think the reason why Sakurai didn't initially include DK in there is he couldn't fit DK's shaft's megapixels, so...
Well, one of the theories was that it might be because of fur rendering, that they might have wanted to get the fur rendering engine right. But that got shut down.
Well, DK looked quite beautiful when he got released, so I think a lot of work went to making him look good, whereas... the new game, he looks like he stood in front of a blow dryer for a few hours and thought, "Yep, that's me."
Well, he probably doesn't have a lot of downtime these days. He's going from game to game. He just got off that big shoot for Tropical Freeze. So, in reflection of this negative attitude, the main site actually began a weekly article series called Bitching About Brawl, written by the original DK Vine moderator, Bob O. Friend.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, he was a possessed floating camera that moderated the forums, and nobody's ever figured out his real identity or whether he is indeed a separate person, but he began writing a series of articles on the front page, which can be found at dkvine.com/features/bitching_brawl.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Far out. I didn't realize this until you mentioned it now. I didn't register when I was looking at our massively top secret document.
Yeah, he he began by reviewing the most recent updates and goings on in the world of Brawl and the lack of Donkey Kong information therein. As he realized that he could not sustain an article series on that concept alone, he began a wonderful sci-fi adventure through time and space, eventually meeting his creator and, well, I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but let's just say if you were a big fan of classic DK Vine feature, The End, you'll love the end of Bitching About Brawl. Oh yeah.
I'm just skimming through it, and yeah, he made it look super interesting. There's all different pictures, and it actually looks quite engaging. After this episode, I'm definitely going to, give it a listen.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great having regular weekly content on the main site again.
Oh yeah, look at that. It was sort of, it looks more fortnightly. No, it was weekly. Yeah, fuck, jeez.
Yeah, it was, kind of vacillated there off and on. So returning to the thread, as that summer in 2006 wore on, we really didn't get any new information about the game. So all we had to do was go over the same fucking screenshots, the same fucking information from E3, fucking rehash the fucking snake debate 100 times, worry about whether Donkey Kong would even be in the game.
I had a quick look through the thread because you had a lot more of a comprehensive look at this thread than I have. So on page 16 on 4 September 2006, forum member Jian Feng indicated that Diddy should probably be paired with Dixie.
That's a huge fucking shift from what's been going on in the current Smash Brothers thread.
Well, the thing is I think it's like the Smash Brothers subconscious has been transferred, because that's about that is 8 years old, that idea, and now it's just coming back, and it hit everyone when everyone was panicking about the Diddy Dixie Valentine's Day pairing.
Yeah, I think people at that point would just have been happy to see Diddy in the game in any capacity. They were just so fucking hungry for it.
And they were angry, and some forum members were really furious.
When we decided to do the Brawl thread, there was some question of how to handle some of the recurring members in the thread. I feel like we might have crossed a little bit of a line with Kupal, with Chaos Heart in the last episode, and one thing I very much not want the Forum Watch to be about is spreading drama.
No, yes we do. Scene, you're a fucking dick.
Fuck you, Sean. But, I do want to say this for Sean, though, is when you read back over this old thread with a critical eye, the only reason Sean stands out from everybody else and all of their fucking anger and shittiness and spurious arguments is Sean had more passion and more eloquence. But his message, his tone, it was exactly the same as everybody else, as Heil was posting, as even I was posting. None of us have our hands clean. None of us who were a part of that thread. And, I think Sean gets a little bit of a bum rap.
That's right, and his hands weren't clean because his hands were in someone's bum.
We definitely won't be picking on Sean in this episode.
Yes, we are.
But the other big issue is Bendelen.
Ooh, Bendelen 2 or 1 or 37 or 89.
The Bendelen.
The Bendelen?
The Bendelen.
The one that starts with B.
For the most part, I feel comfortable stating the facts of a situation, but with Ben, even stating the facts kinda goes over the line.
Yeah. He always had to take it that one step too far, didn't he? And he was a product of 4chan, and you know how twisted those lads are.
And he certainly got involved with 4chan after leaving DK Vine.
Yeah, that's right. I've heard he's posted some interesting images in there, you know?
Yeah, quite interesting images.
I've had a look and I've masturbated to it, so...
He has a great ass, doesn't he? I'm fucking jealous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, you've been to the page. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
Don't
man.
front, don't fake.
I'm like, every time I see Bendelin's page, some music comes on and goes, barrel, 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 you know, like this cheesy porn music.
You know, it's a testament to this. It's a testament to this forum's. You know, as much as we talk about, you know, all the skeletons in our closet, people from 4chan were aware of this forum and fucking scoured it. And if there was anything worth fucking taking from it and blowing up into a big thing, they would have done it.
Yep.
But they didn't.
This forum is amazing for all the right and mostly wrong reasons.
This forum kicks ass. So we went on for months. It wasn't until November 4th, 2006, page 20, that a new trailer came out showcasing Fox McCloud.
Oh yeah, I like that Fox lad.
Oh yeah, and right there, you know, a lot of anger. Fox was obvious. It's been 7 months and you've only shown one new character. Isn't this game coming out next year? Still no Diddy Kong.
Still no Donkey Kong.
Still no Donkey Kong. You know, people started talking about not buying the game or hinging whether they'd buy it on certain inclusions. People started really turning against the game in this period, even more than they had back when Snake was first revealed.
That's right. The game Brawl seemed like a plane crashing into the ocean, in a way. A bit like MH370.
How do you know the plane number off the top of your head?
I've got it written down here. Anyways.
Yes, the game was fucking spiraling down. The thread was spiraling down, and we needed a life preserver. We needed more updates. We needed daily updates, and our dreams came true on page 24 of the thread when the Smash Brothers Dojo was unveiled. The Smash Brothers Dojo was a site that was updated every weeknight at around 3 a.m. Eastern American time, supposedly by Sakurai himself, unveiling a new update to Brawl, whether it be a new item, a new piece of music, a new stage, a new character, a new gameplay update. One of the first updates to the site was an update about how to play the game. Sakurai summed it up with the phrase, "You must recover." And that became shorthand. It went so viral. It became shorthand for all the shitty, unnecessary dojo updates.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? I just came to a realization to me that although we're talking about the Brawl thread in the DK Vine forum specifically, this would have been a global thing for all the fans of Nintendo, and they would have been like, "You must recover." I don't know, like...
I don't remember the Spanish for recover.
Je monsieur recover.
So the dojo started, and these daily updates began. People began fucking obsessing over these updates, fucking staying up until all hours of the night until it updated, figuring out which of the different translations would go up first. Usually it was the Japanese, but sometimes the Italian would be the first up. So people would have 3 tabs open, English, Japanese, and Italian, and be all night. And starting out, we didn't get a lot of meaty updates, and we didn't get any DK updates. So we were kind of pissed every single update because it wasn't Donkey Kong. It wasn't one step closer to Diddy Kong.
We kind of got closer on June 27, 2007, and that's on page 36 of the Brawl thread, where the banana peel had been revealed on the dojo, but it wasn't identified as a Donkey Kong item, was it?
No, it wasn't. It had the Mario icon.
And everyone was complaining.
We can't even get a banana recognized as a Donkey Kong item. What hope do we have they'll include Diddy Kong? We don't even know if Donkey Kong is in this.
We were fucked. In the scheme of things, we all thought we were fucked.
Fucking furious. But one nice thing about those icons, though, was this really intricate theory that arose from them.
What was that?
Are you familiar with this?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, on the Smash Dojo, every franchise had a little icon of, a little item from their series in front of the Smash logo. And these icons went at the top of the page for whatever update it was. They were showing off the Fire Flower item. It would have the Mario logo. When Diddy Kong went up, it had the DK logo. Well, when the first update for Kid Icarus went up, when you looked at the file name for the icon, it was listed as number 18.
Number 18. What does that even mean?
It meant that there was some sort of order that these icons were going in, and it had already been predetermined, and that we could extrapolate what franchises might be coming up from their position on this icon chart.
Oh, that's clever, is that?
And as it turned out, the icons were grouped first by the game that they were introduced in, the franchise introduced in the first game in Melee and the newcomers to Brawl, and then within those they were arranged alphabetically. So we were able to narrow down and figure out, what might fit, what might come between this thing and that thing, what had been ruled out by that. But there were some problems with that. It wasn't an official thing. They weren't presenting it as an official list, so it was just some webmaster guy's idea of alphabetization. They would switch between using the character name and the name of the series, so it wasn't exactly clear-cut.
So in other words, everyone was wasting their time. Good work, lads.
No, that's the thing. Everybody wanted to tell me towards the end that they were wasting their time. So what I did is I worked out the fucking combinatorics of the situation and gave myself a huge margin of error for the number of different names you could call a series, and fucking did the math out in the thread and went, so fucking QED bitches, the fucking franchise icon numbering theorem is correct.
Oh.
And nobody cared about my math.
They're like, yeah, shut up, Saf. Whatever.
No one gave a shit. So the first update that caused a huge splash on the forums, was on July 2nd, page 37 of the thread. The introduction of the assist trophy mechanic.
Oh, yes.
And not only the introduction of the assist trophy mechanic, but the introduction of Samurai Goro from the F-Zero series as an assist trophy.
Aha. And a lot of people were actually speculating, perhaps in terms of the F-Zero universe, Samurai Goro was going to be the character that would have been introduced as being playable.
Oh yes, that was considered the lock for the series. Sean, who's the biggest F-Zero fan I know, perhaps the only F-Zero fan I know.
No, I'm a huge F-Zero GX fan. Oh yeah, I love that game. If they release another one, then I'll be all over it. I completed all the hard modes, all the missions. I love it. So anyways, there was a bit of panic in the streets in regards to Samurai Goro, wasn't there?
There was fucking panic. There was panic over Samurai Goro. He was considered a lock for the game. He was considered the most logical second choice from F-Zero. And really, he was considered, to an extent, the only second choice from F-Zero. I saw, and even tried to put out there myself, Black Shadow suggested, but the hardcore fans kind of shot me down on that one.
Black Shadow, if from memory, he's Captain Falcon's arch nemesis, so it sort of made sense for him to be in a playable character.
Yeah, it made sense, but in the end, F-Zero didn't end up getting a second character. So DK Vine, we really didn't get an update that we considered worthy until June 27th, page 36 of the thread, when it turned out that as part of their E3 2007 push, some videos leaked showing Donkey Kong.
Yes, and everyone was excited!
Ah, yes, finally, it's Donkey Kong. Finally, we can get to the real meat of the matter. Bitching about how Diddy Kong won't be in the game.
Yeah. It's like, as soon as there's one piece of good news, then people are like, oh, yep, that's off the angst checklist. Oh, there's the next one.
But we did suspend the angst for a good 2 pages and gushed about how good he looked. Gushed about, the fact that we'd be able to play as Donkey Kong. We were able to put aside all our feelings and anger about the game, about each other, about Snake, about Diddy Kong, and just really revel in the fact that we would get to play our favorite character in this great fighting game. It was a bit of an island of happiness amid this sea of negativity.
That's very poetic. I'd say it's like little pieces of debris in the ocean that you're looking for. So we finally found Donkey Kong in our search. So we just wanted to find the black box of the DK franchise, and that would be Diddy Kong.
Ah, yes, we were fucking waiting for Diddy Kong, and there was nothing indicating that Diddy Kong was going to be in the game. There's nothing indicating he wouldn't be in the game, but with absolutely no sign of any Donkey Kong Country related updates, any kind of Donkey Kong Country related songs or stages, people were just going wild with how certain they were that Diddy wouldn't be in the game. I think the DK Vine forum was pretty much the only place on the internet that even entertained the notion that Diddy wouldn't be in. He was considered foregone conclusion everywhere else, except here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think the influence of Jungle Beat.
Jungle Beat.
If anything, they probably thought that one of those little white monkeys from Jungle Beat would become a playable character instead.
It did actually get to that point. Yes, it was actually suggested that a Jungle Beat Gibbon might be a character. Because, as you're talking about Jungle Beat, the first updates we saw after Donkey Kong were all Jungle Beat related. Starting with the Donkey Kong stage, Jungle Falls.
That's right. And there's a bit of a weird link towards that level because there's a biplane in this stage.
Haha, there is a biplane, but it wasn't even Funky's biplane. It wasn't even a biplane from any of the games. Not from King of Swing, not from any of them. They just stuck a random-ass biplane when they could have easily made it Funky's flight, but they didn't. So that kind of showed you how much care they were going to take with Donkey Kong. And meanwhile, every other update they were making, they'd show off Pit's final smash, and, it summons the Centurions, and they look pixel perfect to their NES representation, All these little touches with every other franchise, and our franchise can't even get the correct plane. And, we were getting a fucking stage from a game that didn't sell well, that nobody liked, just because it was new. And, a lot of people were like, okay, they showed off Delfino Plaza for Mario. They showed the Bridge of Eldin for Zelda. Clearly, they're trying to update with the newer stuff. But it was still Jungle Beat, and there was no Donkey Kong Country references. So, it began piling on.
You know what it kind of reminds me of in a way? It's like Smash Brothers is a bit like a UN conference where, you can join in, you have representative of each countries, and they have their say. But it's a bit like as if Donkey Kong and the series was a bit like one of those countries like North Korea, who isn't in the UN, and, they don't really know anything about North Korea, just like they didn't know about the Donkey Kong universe. And in a way, they just sort of thought, okay, well, we'll just label Donkey Kong, or we'll just label North Korea in a view that we see it, in an outside view. But now, ever since we got Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Returns, now we have a representative within these Smash Brothers development team, and I'm sure there's people that's fact checking.
But you're absolutely correct, and that was the big problem, I think, with Brawl and its Donkey Kong representation, which did turn out to be rather lackluster, especially Donkey Kong Country representation. Is for this new one, they presumably have Retro Studios to consult with, and for Melee and presumably Smash 64, they had Rare to talk to.
That's right, yeah, and you could see that because they had the sunrise in Jungle Japes, yeah, with the sunrise and had all the Mankeys. Well, this was a sunrise or a sunset, but with Cranky's hut, and it was a perfect representation of the Donkey Kong Country universe. It was beautiful, in fact.
But compounding Jungle Falls was the later reveal of Donkey Kong's final smash, which, the Final Smash was the big fucking new mechanic for the games. Every character would have one. Donkey Kong's turned out to be
Bongos!
the DK bongos. The DK bongos with the fucking buttons and everything. It wasn't the bongos from Donkey Kong 64. No, it was the fucking DK bongos like you play in real life. And people lost their minds. It was another fucking bongo reference from that fucking shitty part of Donkey Kong history where they didn't use any elements from Donkey Kong Country. And if this is what they were pulling from for Brawl, then clearly Diddy Kong might not be in the game.
But thing is, objectively, bongos is quite a logical choice for a Final Smash. Though I saw someone in the Brawl thread mention something about DK grabbing a barrel and moving back and forth with a keg or something like that, and that would have been a perfectly...
Or, doing giant Donkey Kong, maybe an animal buddy rush.
Oh, yeah, imagine seeing a whole bunch of Rambies storming through the screen.
Yeah, it'd be like Donkey Kong Racing.
And actually, the conversation had quite a good spotlight on...
Quite a great episode. One of their better episodes. It had Alistair on it. He's always good for the discussion, and, I feel like he brought out the best in Chad and Heil. I feel like they really wanted to impress him. Anyway... At this point, starting from the summer of 2007, the dojo updates began getting fairly meaty. Every now and again, it'd be something we knew or something fucking obvious, something fucking dumb. So, we began getting substantial updates. We eventually got our first newcomer, Ike, which pissed people off because it wasn't Diddy Kong. But, I feel like the next big fire, the next big flare-out, the next big meltdowns came when we got an update on the single-player mode, the Subspace Emissary. Sakurai posted, a little introduction to, this world, the central conceit of the Subspace Emissary. And the money quote there was, "In this world, trophies fight." And it was explained that in the Subspace Emissary, these characters were just trophies that came to life to do battle, and when they were defeated, reverted to trophies again. Well, if you follow the DKU rules, maybe that doesn't count as an actual appearance of Donkey Kong. And people, most notably Jim, had really been flying that flag for the longest time, even before the game came out. This pronouncement, it seemed to confirm everything that they thought, that these characters were just trophies, that it wasn't Donkey Kong, and that it didn't belong in the DKU. And actually earlier, the Brawl thread had been moved to completely relevant discussion as a joke, where the admins were like, "Oh, you're right, it's not DKU. Can't discuss it in the Cameo games forum." So that kind of became another recurring argument that we'd rehash in between updates, in between furiously F5ing the dojo. So the updates kept coming. We saw, the Pokemon trainer. We saw, a lot of different items, a lot of different music, and it seemed like Donkey Kong was getting a lot of airtime in these screenshots, or maybe that was just our drug-addled delusions.
Yeah, I saw it as relatively even. I think what had happened is you lads had posted the only pictures of Brawl with Donkey Kong in them.
Yeah, it kind of gave us a bias there. We spent so long looking at them. But, the next huge update came with the announcements of stickers. And one of the stickers they showed off was a gibbon from Jungle Beat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And if you're counting, that's 3 Jungle Beat references in a row. At this point, people were fucking fed up. It's late July, still no Diddy Kong. Took us so fucking long to get Donkey Kong. All this Jungle Beat stuff. People started saying maybe a gibbon's going to be playable. Just you watch, that sticker has a reason. And honestly, like maybe Donkey Kong won't be in the game. I'm not sure that anybody actually thought a Jungle Beat gibbon would be playable. I think they were maybe making a point, but it's really hard to tell at this point. It's really hard to tell where real anger ends and ironic anger begins.
Well, when you look at that evidence, reasonable logic would suggest that if there's another Donkey Kong character and there wasn't any other Donkey Kong characters that were playable in Brawl at the time, that a gibbon was the logical choice.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Unless Copcock was the next playable character.
Copcock should have been a boss in the Subspace Emissary.
Yeah, just like Petey Piranha, huh?
Petey Piranha. That was another fairly big blowout. He was shown off in a Subspace Emissary update, and they didn't make it clear whether there were going to be bosses in this mode. So people thought maybe he was playable. Maybe they just confirmed Petey Piranha there. And I mean, can you even fucking imagine? Can you even imagine Petey Piranha in Brawl? That would have been ridiculous. That would have been crossing the line.
Imagine they made Petey Piranha playable.
I want to see if you can actually play as him with like a Game Shark hack, swinging those cages around.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I would like to see what it's like to control a boss. Like, you know how you see a boss and you see them doing their patterns? Well, I'd love to be able to play as a boss and do those patterns, but also add in your own playable flair to it, which would make it fucking impossible.
Once you take out the patterning from boss fights, once you give bosses the ability to think and respond, it becomes fucking impossible. Clearly their moves are just so fucking incredible. There's actually a glitch you can exploit. It requires some precise timing, but in Melee you can play as Master Hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it might be, a little limited. It might not work on every stage, but yeah, you can play as Master Hand, and that sounds pretty cool. I tried to do it. I do not have the dexterity to pull off the glitch. I don't even have the dexterity to really pull off wave dashing. For all the gaming I do, I just can't do anything very quickly.
That's alright. I think I'm finding that I used to be able to complete games and when I was younger, and I think I'm a much better player, but then when I try and replay those games, I discover that, well, maybe I'm actually still pretty shit and even worse. So.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of times that games I found were difficult are easier, and games that I didn't find that bad are harder. It's really weird. I feel like my skills have developed in certain aspects, but certain skills have atrophied, and I think I had just being a child and really, living and breathing video games, which, I certainly don't live and breathe video games these days, but, I feel like my intuitions were sharper, I had more eye of the tiger back then, and I could take on anything.
I think a lot of our gaming skills went towards making sure we could reach the climax.
But, I feel like that would have only increased my hand-eye coordination.
Speaking of increasing the climax.
The climax of these many months of arguments, these many months of bitching, these many months of negativity. August 2nd, 2007, page 76 of the Brawl thread. Diddy Kong was revealed for Brawl.
Woo!
Fucking finally. We went nuts for it. We were fucking all over it. Well, first we were all over demanding Sean eat humble pie. I mean, that almost overshadowed, when you go back and you read it now, it seems like it almost overshadows how happy we were about Diddy Kong, was how happy we were to rub it into Sean's face.
That's right.
But Diddy Kong looked fantastic. We were so happy to see him. And, that began the moment where the tides began turning a little. The mood in the thread began changing. Not overnight, not immediately. There was still a lot of bitching. As a lot of people said, Diddy Kong's in this game. We finally got our Donkey Kong Country representation, but there's still a lot of problems with the game. There's still Snake. There's still the possibility the roster won't turn out well.
And do you think that because Retro was starting to work on the Donkey Kong Country Returns, that would have been the reason for Diddy Kong's inclusion into Brawl?
No, I believe Diddy Kong got in due to his merits in the 90s. I think, if anything, the fact that Retro decided to use him again is testament to his popularity, because they didn't use anybody in Returns. And that was, the big thing about Diddy Kong in Brawl, and why we were putting so much energy towards it, why we were building it up to be so important, is it was felt that Smash Brothers is the biggest exposure these games get to the widest audience. It's what forms a lot of the perceptions in these casual or uninformed gamers of these different franchises. It's certainly how I first found out about Earthbound. It's pretty much where I've gotten all of my F-Zero knowledge. So it was felt that the Donkey Kong series needed to have Diddy Kong there to truly represent it and to truly cement how important the Donkey Kong Country era, the rare Donkey Kong era, was to the franchise. it was even felt that Smash Brothers was a kingmaker, which is a line of thought you see repeated in this current thread about the new Smash Brothers. It was thought that Smash Brothers not only reflects and advertises the history of these franchises, but it shapes it. It affects what goes on to happen. And of course, because Marth and Roy were in Melee, maybe that's why we got the Fire Emblem games ported over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually tried the Fire Emblem games, and here's my realization about it. Not all Nintendo games are good.
Well, it sounds like bullshit. I mean, I heard there was like this whole fucking sub-game where you gotta like fucking marry your people off and make sure they have the right kids. And, I don't want to fucking deal with a fucking dating simulator, a fucking animal husbandry. That's what I don't like about modern Pokemon. I just want to catch them all and train them all. I don't want to sit down and work out fucking genealogy charts.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, what? And that could be fun. That could possibly be fun if it was its own game. But grafted onto the end of this great game that is great without it, like, I want nothing to do with it. I want absolutely nothing to do with it. And because of its presence in these games, I will not play a modern Pokemon. But back to the Brawl thread. Lucas getting revealed. That happened on October 1st, page 108 of the thread. That's probably the biggest moment in thread history. Maybe the biggest moment in DK Vine history. Certainly the most infamous moment in DK Vine history.
And why is that, Saf?
Due to a meltdown by Bendolin. Now, you see, Lucas came from Mother 3, which was a sequel to Earthbound that only was released in Japan, was never going to get translated and brought over here, still hasn't been translated and brought over here, wasn't even a translation patch available for it at the time, so none of us had played it. And, Lucas goes and gets revealed, and Ness hasn't been revealed. The thought is that Lucas was going to replace Ness.
And Sakurai was quite cunning because he implied all along that Lucas was definitely the replacement of Ness.
He did. There was an update about Lucas's special moves, and Sakurai opened it with, "Up until now, there has been a character named Ness in the Super Smash Bros. Series. Up until now." Which technically is accurate, but misleading.
Absolutely.
People were losing their minds, and nobody lost their mind more than Bendolin. Well, I was hoping you would actually treat us to a dramatic reading of this infamous post, Craps. Are you up for it?
Bendolin says, "Fuck Nintendo, fuck Sakurai, fuck Brawl, fuck everything relating to them. It's fucking Earthbound 64 being cancelled all over again. I fucking hate these idiots and literally want to see them die."
Thank you for sacrificing the integrity of your throat there, perhaps.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But this meltdown, more than any other, became infamous across the internet. To this day, it's probably what we're best known for.
Yeah, it's always used against us whenever something happens.
And, it's unfortunate. As Bendolin became rather infamous in disreputable internet circles, among all the other things he did, this post was cataloged among them. It's actually linked from Encyclopedia Dramatica.
Yep, that's right. And actually, when we had the Tropical Freeze thread, I think it was, and we always made a joke about, it should have been Metroid, they would come back to us with Bendolin's quote.
Yes, they did. Fucking NeoGaf threw that back in our face. And then, fucking threw Chad and Heil's review of Donkey Kong 64 from 1999. I mean, Jesus Christ. They might as well have went, "Weren't you guys on the weekend web?"
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ, people. I mean, there's so many legitimate points to hate this forum about, and people just want to focus on shit from years ago and shit that's just not at all representative of what we're about these days. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it just shows you the internet's got a long memory.
It's like the aforementioned weekend web. I believe that went up in 2007 as well. This isn't the the SAF Presents the Weekend Web episode.
Yeah.
So I don't have that in my show outline. But, when the Weekend Web went up, at that point, the Weekend Web had stopped been doing by the funniest people on Something Awful. It was down to the subforum BYOB.
Bring your own beer?
Bring your own beer. Yeah, it was the cool forum to just hang out and chillax in. But in reality, it was the containment camp for all the people who weren't cool enough to post in the Real Irony forum. They'd get run out of there.
Really?
Yeah. So when the Real Irony forum stopped doing the Weekend Web, it went down to BYOB, and the quality just fucking nosedived. And that's where the DK Vine fucking update comes in. The threads they'd pull from old fucking closed threads. They'd pull clearly spam posts, and none of what they said about them was really funny. Nothing really about, how ridiculous it was that we were sitting here doing it, except of all the people, me and one other guy got hardcore ice burned. I remember for me, they posted this really long fucking dissertation I'd written on whether Master Necky and Master Necky Sr. were related. Kind of shit we talk about here all the time. And above that, it was posted, there is not one good-looking, successful person in the world who knows what the fuck this guy is talking about. On October 10th, page 116 of the thread, finally the shoe dropped. The hammer we'd been waiting for ever since Snake was announced. Sonic was revealed, No big news to anybody who'd been following it or thinking. But it was paired alongside an announcement that the game would not be out in 2007, but was instead delayed until February.
That's right.
And people were dismayed, People were just pissed. And, you kind of look at Tropical Freeze, and, it was the same situation. It was supposed to come out for the holidays, was delayed until a late winter, early spring release. You saw around here how, we kind of getting a little fatigued towards the end there. They'd already done the big push, we'd already had E3 and
that's right.
The summer after that, all these months of updates, and, we'd really been getting fired up to be playing this game. And when it got delayed, on the plus side, there were still daily updates, but that same sort of fatigue did kind of set in a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. People just stopped caring about the game because I think you have like a fatiguometer. It goes... And then you're expecting the fatigue to end when the game comes out. Or not end.
I'm hoping from now on I can just tell you, check the fatiguometer, and you'll remember to do that exact sound effect.
So I think people set themselves up in terms of their internal enthusiasm for an item, and that enthusiasm expires once the game gets released and once they actually play it. So I can see in our little top secret documents that there's not much else after October 18.
Really, the last big event was on October 18th, page 126, when we got the video of Donkey Kong's introduction in the Subspace Emissary. And it was this really badass scenario where Koopas were stealing the banana horde, and, it fucking cuts into the jungle, and, Donkey Kong's pounding on a Koopa, and his plastron shatters. And then, he comes out of the jungle, and a bullet bill gets fired out of him. But fucking Diddy Kong leaps out of nowhere, and he fires these 2 peanut pop guns, and it fucking blows them both up. And then they do this cool action pose, and then they leap off to fucking get their fucking banana horde back from the Koopas. It was fucking badass. It was Donkey and Diddy on another fucking adventure together. The kind of crossover that can only happen in Smash Brothers. It was everything Donkey Kong Country fans ever wanted. It was the most Donkey Kong Country moment since fucking Melee. The most quintessential, the most perfect representation of the series until Retro released their game in 2010. And that's really the last big event in the thread. And you might be thinking, well, what about release? What about post-release? It says right there in the thread title it was also the post-release. Well, the thing is in mid-2008, during a routine server move, there was a corruption of a certain part of the forum's archive data. And most of the posts and threads from early 2008, from January 17th into early June, are just completely gone.
No!
Yes! You go back, to that time and like the completely relevant, and you click on threads, and there's just nothing in them. Just no replies, not even an OP.
Yeah, sometimes it's just blank, yeah.
A handful of posts survived in the Brawl thread. We didn't lose everything, but we lost most of the release and the post-release. What remains is just random snippets of things. Unfortunately, we lost my big crowning moment.
And what was that, Seth?
Aha! Well, all these leaks and all these fucking spoilers and supposed interviews, they'd been coming out since the game was announced, since 2006. And, usually they were easily confirmed. They'd be in a different language and the translation would be bad, or, this magazine didn't exist, or they predict something and it wouldn't happen. Eventually, a spoiler came along from a known member of the spoiler community. He had spoiled Nintendo games before, most notably the latest Castlevania games. And he spoiled a full roster list, including Wolf O'Donnell from Star Fox and Rob the Robot. And people, they weren't in love with that roster, they thought it was kind of shitty, so they didn't want it to be true. And because it wasn't an official thing, they had an out to go, oh, this isn't going to happen, this is false. I looked at the situation, I knew how spoilers worked. I knew this guy wasn't going to throw away his reputation for shits and giggles. I knew there was no way that wasn't accurate. So I fucking went hardcore at it. Harder than Sean had gone at it, harder than Bendelin had ever gone at it. I was just all over everyone, and people were getting all fucking worked up. Cody, Corey, Eric, Matthews, now known as Highway, I believe, once known as Eric Boss, famously made a bet with me that if that roster turned out to be correct, that he would flush his iPhone, his working iPhone, down the toilet. And although that post and the posts around it and that entire chapter was deleted, it was actually saved by Carla and David. And I've saved it to my desktop. So, Highway, if you're listening to this, you still owe me a fucking iPhone down the toilet, bitch. Bitch. But, so, obviously it came out that the roster was accurate, and for my grand victory, I was awarded a new username. I was no longer merely Saf. Suddenly I was the Saf.
The Saf. Sexy ass fucker.
That was
sexy ass. You're not just any sexy ass fucker.
You're I'm the sexy
ass fucker.
I'm the sexy ass fucker from your dreams, baby. Now get down and suck my dick.
So obviously that makes you a member of the thread. Alright, that wraps up the show, lads. See you later.
Suck my dick, eat humble pie.
This has been produced by
STD
and
Saf. Away we go.